What's up? My name is Alien Duckling, and welcome back, in a way, to my Total Extreme Wrestling 2020 Stardom series. Now, if you're curious as to why I've said welcome back, a few months ago, I believe it was back in October, I started this series, and it kind of never took off. I got a fair amount of views, which I am really grateful for, but my own laziness and just a lack of joy in what I was doing really kind of caught up with me, and I never really got around to editing anything that I did record, and I redid a few things, but in that time so much has changed that I feel like it's not even worth it to press on from October and just live without all that's changed in real life Stardom. So this is kind of my way of reintroducing the series. You can call this season 2, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but we're going to be starting from right now in June. But since Stardom's schedule is a little messed up, there's a few changes that are going to need to be made and just acknowledged in advance. So for starters, I have changed the schedule to something that suits my abilities as a booker better. It follows more of a New Japan Pro Wrestling style format, where you're going to have these build-up shows towards the bigger events, and I've also made a few changes to the schedule that I think are going to help highlight our divisions a little better. You can see, for starters here, the High Speed Grand Prix is now a full-fledged tournament, which I would love to see done in real life, although tournaments for Stardom are usually just limited to, like, the main 3, I think they have. And speaking of that, Cinderella Tournament we're running as a 2-night event now. Night 1 would be all of the first round, Night 2 would be everything afterward. And if we will scale up the Cinderella Tournament because of that, I'm not sure. We might not. I know in real life they did, but the format is a little messy. They still haven't done it because of COVID-19 restrictions. So that's the next thing I want to get to, is that because this has taken place in the past, is meant to take place at the end of April in our save, we're not going to be able to finish the Cinderella Tournament. So I want to just go out of the way and declare that my fantasy booked Cinderella Tournament winner is Saya Kamitani. So she is next in line to challenge for Tam Nakano's Wonder of Stardom title. Saya beat her in the first round, so there is a story to unfold there, and if Saya doesn't win the Cinderella Tournament in real life, then I'm going to be very upset. So as it sits now, we are in a bit of an awkward position given my scheduling. You can see our next event is Stardom Shining Stars Night 3. And starting Night 3 on like any kind of show is really awkward positioning to be in, but I think we can run with it because I'm just going to be keeping the sort of real life active stories going despite the scheduling difference. I cannot be bothered trying to keep up with the real life Stardom schedule and replicate that in game. It's been all over the place because of the pandemic, so I'm just working with what I can get done and what I feel comfortable doing, which is this. I've shown you some of the schedule earlier, but going down more, there is more to be seen. 5-star Grand Prix is going to be running G1 style tournament, as well the Tag League, where you have these nights dedicated to each specific block. So, night 1 might be the Red Stars block. Night 2 would be Blue Stars, and then, just alternate back and forth. I think that's a really easy way to keep things in check, rather than Stardom's format of, okay, we're just throwing this stuff together. And I mean, it works well for them, but for me, as a booker, I'm going to get lost so fast trying to figure out who's wrestled when, who's wrestled where, like all that. So it just makes things a lot simpler for me, even if there's more shows involved to it. So starting off at probably the most important part, Stardom runs in a sort of faction warfare format, as you would be familiar with from New Japan Pro Wrestling or DDT.
and likely a few other companies as well, where almost everybody gets assigned to their own little unit, and they're just always striving to be the best. It's all about teamwork. It's all about, getting along with your teammates and just being the best unit that you can be. And we're going to start with Stars, which is your usual babyface unit. It's led by the icon of Stardom, the ace of the promotion, that being Mayu Iwatani. And the members, she's joined by our Hanan, who's 16 years old with 4 years of experience and a judo background, and she's really starting to come into her own, I think, as a wrestler. Jungle Kiona, who has about 5 years of experience and is just a generally good powerhouse wrestler, although she has never won a singles title, and many don't believe she ever will. She is the kind of nearly woman of the company. Koguma, who just recently returned, and I know very little about. She retired back in 2015 before I ever even knew what Stardom was, and she just returned, come out of retirement to join up with Stars in their time of need. Saya Iida, who is known as Gori-chan, she is another power wrestler. She's similar to Jungle Kiona, but she really has her own style as well. And she's known as the Little Giant. She is incredibly built for standing at about 4'9", and I think she has a lot of potential going forward. And lastly, Starlight Kid, who is an incredibly talented high flyer and just generally one of the best in the high speed division of Stardom. She has so much potential, and she's still very young, so she can go a long way. Moving on, we have Queen's Quest, led by Momo Watanabe, who was once billed as the future ace of Stardom, but due to politics and such, I'm pretty sure she has fallen out of that place, and she's now just... she's not even the most important member of a unit that she leads, which is pretty sad, so I do want to give a lot to Momo going forward in this save. The heir to Queen's Quest is Azumi. That is how her name is pronounced, although it's spelled as Azem. She is one of the best high flyers, one of the best technicians, and she just has such a good blend of those two styles. And it works so well in the high speed division, which she has been a mainstay of pretty much her entire Stardom career. Hina is the sister of the aforementioned Hanan, the younger sister that is, and she is probably the best wrestler out of the children currently part of Stardom. Although she is a bit lacking in the character department. She's only 14, she still has a long way to go. She still has a lot of time to grow and take shape into a great wrestler. Saya Kamitani is relatively new to Stardom. She only has a few years of experience under her belt, but she is amazing for what she is. I mentioned her earlier. She is my pick to win the Cinderella tournament, and she is the one that I have sort of put down as the Cinderella winner in this save, since that's in the past. She has this style that I guess you would compare to somebody like Io Shirai, and it's so rare to see that in a Joshi wrestler, and she does it so well, which has really made me have this big respect and admiration for Saya as a wrestler. And lastly, but certainly not least, would be Utami Hayashishita, who is the current World of Stardom champion, and Utami defeated Mayu for that title back in November, and she just has this presence to her where she feels like a big deal. She feels like she can really be the future of Stardom, especially with her limited experience and how good she is for that limited experience. Moving on to Oedo Tai, this is your sort of general heel unit. I believe the original leader was Aki Yasukawa, and it moved on to Kagetsu, who is probably who you're most familiar with if you do know Oedo Tai at all. But it is currently led by Natsuko Tora, who is... her style's a bit tough to explain. She's kind of a mix of a power wrestler and just a dirty heel wrestler, as are, most of Oedo Tai. And, while they have not seen the most success recently, probably due to some bias, I do think that all of Oedo Tai has great potential to just, do things that can really elevate them into feeling like more of a proper unit, which is, what I want to bring to them going forward. Moving on, we have Fukigen Death, formerly known as Gokigen Death, formerly known as Death Yama-san, formerly known as Kaori Yoneyama. She is the most experienced member of the roster by a good margin. I think she doubles Mayu Iwatani in experience. She is a legend of Joshi wrestling, and don't let her, dressing like a clown and being ordered around like Konami's dog fool you, because, when it gets down to it, she can go in the ring as well. Speaking of Konami, one of my favorite members of the entire roster, my favorite member of Oedo Tai for sure. She has all the potential in the world to really, shine. She has such a good blend of technical wrestling and striking style. For my money, she's one of the top 5 best technicians anywhere in the world, and she uses that style so well. But she is in this position, where she hasn't been given anything really. She's not this big single star like, I think she should be. Natsu Sumire is a bit hard to explain. I'm not even sure how I would go about it. She is sort of sex-obsessed fashion icon that likes to whip people and just have a good time, and I think that's all I really need to say about Natsu. She's, out of the current lineup, she is the most tenured member of Oedo Tai, and she's currently out nursing a shoulder injury, but when she comes back, I'm sure I'll be able to replicate Natsu in a way that I can't really explain with words. Moving on is Rina, who is another young member of the Stardom roster. She is the twin sister of Hina from Queen's Quest, and also the younger sister of Hanan, as that's how family trees work. She, I would say, has the most personality out of any of the children. She also has really good wrestling ability, and in a way, she was the protege of the late Hana Kimura. So she has some kind of big shoes to fill, but she has taken her own path. She's a part of Oedo Tai now, and she's starting to really come into her own, I've seen, as a wrestler, which is it's always nice to see, especially at a young age. She is only 14, so she still has a long way to go. She still has a lot of time to grow up, but I think she's going to do really well. Ruaka is the last of the children on the roster. She is the same age as Hanan, but she is completely unrelated to her or Hina or Rina. She was somebody that, kind of blended into the background for a long time, but I think she as well is really starting to come into her own as a part of Oedo Tai, which has, sort of turned into corrupting children at this point, which, I honestly don't mind. I think it's a really unique aspect. And Ruaka is a power wrestler. She uses her size to her advantage a lot, which is another thing you don't really see a lot in Stardom, which I think makes her a unique wrestler with kind of a high ceiling if things go right. Last from Oedo Tai is Saki Kashima, who is quite an experienced wrestler, both in and out of Stardom. And, although she might not be as, flashy or capable in the ring as anybody else, I do think she has this charm to her and this ability to go far if she's given the right things. And, as kind of is in Stardom, nobody really gets the right things often. So I'm looking forward to giving all of Oedo Tai nice things going forward, particularly Natsuko, Konami, and Saki as well. Up next is Donna Del Mondo, which is pretty much your outsider unit. They all came into Stardom from other promotions and just really are trying to show that, Stardom, they really ain't shit, and that Donna Del Mondo and, these people from other promotions can come in and they can do everything that the Stardom women can do, if not better. Their leader is Julia, originally from Ice Ribbon, She has found great success since coming to Stardom. She's won the Cinderella tournament. She's won the Wonder of Stardom title. She is a current Goddess of Stardom tag team champion, and she really kind of has no limit. She's just really good in the ring. I've seen her grow a lot since she first showed up in Stardom, and I've become a pretty big Julia fan. It's hard to deny her wrestling ability. Moving on is, I would say, my personal favorite member of Donna Del Mondo, that being Himeka, who is probably the closest thing you'll ever find to a power wrestler in Stardom. She just sort of embodies that style. She's really good at it. She can throw around her opponents with ease, given that she is, one of the most sizable workers on the roster, both in height and in strength. And I really enjoyed her work a lot. And, if I'm going to be really giving anything to anybody from Donna Del Mondo, and trust me, I will be giving everybody their fair share on the Stardom roster, I do want to invest more in Himeka going forward. Maika is an interesting case as well. She is a protege of Taka Michinoku with relatively low experience. She came in from a judo background and has really just shown up and just done a great job as a professional wrestler. Her judo background is implemented so well, and she has such a unique style that's really fun to watch. And I look forward to booking Maika going forward, as I do with anybody on this roster. The reason why I went with Stardom as a whole is because of how stacked the roster really is. Natsupoi is somebody that I'd say somewhat familiar with. She is from Tokyo Joshi Pro, formerly known as Natsumi Maki. And years ago, she was, one of the kind of originals in Stardom. But she left. She really came into herself as a worker. And she has just done such a good job since returning. She is the current high-speed champion. And she has really helped to elevate that division. And, it was already pretty high as well with, the likes of Zumi and Starlight Kid in there. And Natsupoi is just an incredible addition. And she has done so well ever since returning, as I said. Lastly, from Donna Del Mondo is Shuri, who is another sort of legend of the Joshi scene. Not so much as Kaori Yoneyama, but she is just a really big deal. She has this great blend of mixed martial arts and just general wrestling ability. You might know her as a former UFC fighter. She just has so much potential to even be like the face of Stardom, to be the top of the company for a period, and maybe she will get there eventually. We'll have to see. Lastly, we have Cosmic Angels, which is the most recent unit that has come into the line of Stardom, and it all began with Tam Nakano deciding that Mina Shirakawa's breasts were more important than her own friendship with Mai Iwatani and the rest of Stars. But Start aside, they have really come into their own as a unit already, despite their small size. Running through them quickly, their leader is Tam Nakano. She is quite experienced, and she is the current Wonder of Stardom champion. She's, I'd say, one of the better wrestlers on the roster, at least when it comes to telling a story in her work. She is incredible at that. Her matches with Julia and Arisa Hoshiki have shown that very well. Mina Shirakawa is somebody that I have some mixed opinions on. I'm not a big fan of her, although I have seen her grow a lot since coming to Stardom. And, I think she does have potential if she is to grow more as a wrestler. But for now, she's just kind of there because she's attractive. Unagi Sayaka, however, is somebody that I am a massive fan of. I think Unagi is incredible for her limited experience. She's really helped elevate Cosmic Angels where Mina Shirakawa drags it down. So, I've really been happy to see her as a part of things and see her grow with every single match that she's had. Alright, so here we are at our first show of the series. And we have a pretty typical Stardom card ahead of us tonight. And I do want to clarify, just in advance, as shows might come across feeling a little short. I'm going to be, for the sake of convenience and my own abilities, I'm going to be skipping ahead of any promos or segments unless they are vital to the story that is being told, just to sort of keep things simple and going by faster, as I am planning on 1 to 2 shows per video, so I don't want to overwhelm by having each show be too long. All that said, we're going to jump in to the show, and starting things off, we have a typical triple threat match as Lady C, Micah, and Rena do battle, and in the end, Micah gets the victory over Lady C by submitting her with a cross arm breaker. This match was terrible, as the game put it, only a 36. But that's kind of what you expect from having some rookies just thrown into the mix. Try and elevate them, and do as much as you can to get these people more experience in the ring. Moving on is another triple threat match as Hanan, Ruika, and Unagi Sayaka all meet in the ring, and this time it is Unagi Sayaka defeating Hanan by a pinfall for victory. Only subpar wrestling this time, so not as bad. Ruika and Unagi, the two best in the match, and I'm not far behind, all in the 30 category, for a total of 37, which I'll take for just one of these preliminary triple threat matches. And going on ahead, we're getting into the main portion of the show, as Oedo Tai's team of Natsuko Tora, Konami, and Saki Kashima meets with Star's lineup of Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, and Starlight Kid. And in a decent match, it is Konami that submits Koguma by a cross arm breaker for the victory. This match gets a 48. Mayu and Konami, the two best of the bunch, as you would expect. Starlight Kid and Saki Kashima a bit behind, Natsuko Tora not far behind them, and then Koguma sort of bringing the match down. I assume she's a little rusty. Like I said, I don't know much about Koguma, but hopefully she's going to grow into her own pretty soon. Another pretty solid match for us as Dream H, the team of Tam Nakano and Mina Shirakawa, meets with Saya Kamitani and Azumi of Queen's Quest. And it is Saya Kamitani that gets the victory over Mina Shirakawa. Tam was the best of the match by a good bit. Azumi not that far behind, and then Saya and Mina sort of trailing down there. But a 51 overall is not bad at all. Given our popularity and size, any rating like this is just really good for us. So I don't mind, eating a 50, or, even at the start of the show we had like 30s. That's good for us, I would say. And closing the show, we have Shuri and Himeka of Donna Del Mondo meeting against Utami Hayashishita and Momo Watanabe of Queen's Quest. And it is Himeka scoring the victory for her team as she pins Momo Watanabe. The match got a 52. Utami and Momo, the two best of the bunch. Shuri not that bad either, nor is Himeka. 52 is pretty solid for our main event, I would say. And although both were uninvolved in the decision, definitely some growing tension between Shuri and Utami heading into their match for the World of Stardom Championship. Overall, a 51 rated show, no popularity changes. This show went unbroadcasted. I forgot to configure that in the settings. Strike up a deal for tour highlights and stuff, which is going to help us out a lot. For now, 350 people saw that show. 51 rating is not bad at all. So let's just move on to the next. Alright, here we are for the second show, and notably on this one we are going to see the beginning of the Future of Stardom Championship Tournament. The title is currently vacated following an injury to Sayai Ida, so we've taken 8 of Stardom's competitors that are either under 3 years of experience, or under 20 years of age, and we're going to just throw them at each other and see who ends up walking away future Stardom champion come Shining Destiny. So 2 matches of that tournament will be held tonight. Without further ado, let's jump into the show. Starting off the show, we have the usual triple threat match as Hina, Fukigen Death, and Rina meet for action. And in a little under 9 minutes, it is Rina getting the victory after pinning Hina with a quick cradle. Fukigen Death, as expected, was the one to carry the match. She got a 49, Hina with a 27, and Rina with a 25. So Fukigen quite above everybody else that was in the match. However, it did get a 33, which is a really good rating to start the show. And as you might notice down here, I have put myself on commentary because I was getting penalized for it when I was trying to run the show initially. Basically, you can't have a show on the air without commentators or else you'll get penalized, which I think is a little silly. So we're going to have to assemble a proper commentary team going forward, but for now it's me on here and Bull Nakano as well. Next up, we have the start of the Future of Stardom Championship Tournament as Hanan meets with Unagi Sayaka, and in a pretty competitive match is how I would envision it. Unagi is the victorious one, defeating Hanan in just a little over 11 minutes by pinfall. Second rating got 38. Unagi was definitely the better one in the match at 42, Hanan at 26. But a pretty solid start to the tournament. And we move on to the next match of that tournament as Lady C meets with Starlight Kid. And it is Starlight Kid advancing as she defeats Lady C in just over 10 minutes by pinfall with a Shiranui. And as you would expect, Kid, again, carrying the match a bit, 46, Lady C with just a 20, which totals out to a 38 rating, which is not bad at all. And next on our card, getting into the proper matches, again, we have a tag team match pitting Oedo Tai's Natsuko Tora and Ruaka against Mayu Iwatani and Koguma of Stars. And Mayu Iwatani and Koguma pick up the victory as Mayu pins Ruaka with a frog splash. Mayu carrying the match as you would probably expect. She got a 66 rating. Natsuko with a 40, Ruaka 31, and Koguma 33. Not bad at all. It ended up with a 44 segment rating. And it got the crowd hotter, which is always a good thing. Moving on, we have another clash between Cosmic Angels and Queen's Quest as Dream Age unites once more to take on Saya Kamitani, this time with Momo Watanabe at her side. And it is Momo that is the deciding factor, pinning Mina Shirakawa with a Somato. Tam Nakano, again, best of the match. Momo not too far behind. Then Mina somehow outperforming Saya Kamitani by 1. Saya was off her game, so it makes a little bit of sense in some twisted world. Segment rating was 45, which again is pretty good for us. And now we move on to our main event as Shuri and Maika team up from Donna Del Mondo to take on Queen's Quest's Azumi and Utami Hayashishita. And it is Utami, the current World of Stardom champion, getting the win as she defeats Maika with a Samoan drop. It says, I'm going to imagine that these movesets are a little up to date, so we'll say a German suplex. Utami, top of the charts here, 53. Azumi not far behind with a 50. Shuri down a little low with 45, but she was really off her game. As was Utami, in fact, and Maika down there with a 40. This match also deserved better announcing. Listen, I'm trying my best. But 49 rating is not bad at all to close out our show. And we get a 48, which increases our popularity in 16 regions. That is why it is vital to have a broadcasting deal. We're going to be increasing our popularity pretty much everywhere, which is going to be especially helpful for our eventual US show in like a year's time. And now, here we are the following day. Our finances are doing okay. We are at a deficit, though I did invest a bit in production beforehand just so we wouldn't be penalized. So we are on the up and up in terms of finances. And just before we finish, I want to take a look at our size. 44 in the Kanto region, 31 everywhere else. In order to reach medium, we're going to need 59 in our home region and 35 in either Tohoku or Chubu. Hopefully we can achieve that within the year. It might be a little ambitious, but hey, I'm a dreamer. I am looking forward to this series and really just picking things up again. And as always, I would like to hear your suggestions in the comments below, whether it be for somebody to sign from another promotion, assistance in booking characters and everything. Just generally, I do appreciate any feedback that you can leave in the comments below. But for now, that is all, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.